Welcome to the Lightspeed Investing podcast with Dr. Bryce and Dr. Nathan. This is specifically directed to our fellow medical professionals in order to provide them with a high-level overview with what exactly is the futures and commodity financial markets, how we invest in it, and how we've been able to be successful the past 15 years navigating these markets. What you need to know, doctors, is that if you put the same amount of time, energy, and effort into not studying medicine, but studying the wealthy, right? Studying the successful people of the world, you would find that the world's top 42% play this game that we are about to describe for a living. And on average, futures and commodity financial market billionaires are 30 years younger than real estate billionaires for a reason. So my name is Philip J. Hawk Chan. I'm the president and CEO at Lightspeed Investing here. I was an expiring surgeon, and I've had to pivot out to entrepreneurship in order to find time, location, and financial freedom for myself. And we've been able to build up a pretty successful platform. So wanted to bring in these two fellow doctors to share with you guys what their journey has looked like and to cover really, foundational information at a elementary level, kind of like this is the pre-med version, right, of what we normally cover in weekly sessions for our clients in order to give you more clarity. So with that, I welcome Dr. Bryce and Dr. Nathan.
Hey guys, how's it
Hello,
going?
everybody.
I'm Dr. Bryce Bowers. I'm a board certified family physician. I do internal medicine. I mostly round at the hospital. I'm really excited to be here. I worked all day, but I'm just ready to kind of talk about futures and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so here we go. We got a lot on the plate, and I'm going to let Dr. Nathan introduce himself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Nathan Rafaelov. I got my doctorate of pharmacy degree from Long Island University in Brooklyn, New York. And really excited as well to be on this journey and enlighten everybody here to what the possibilities are. We're all aspiring to have the financial freedom, time freedom to do whatever, to have whatever, and to be whatever we want in life. And this is the vehicle to do so. So I'm excited to share some valuable information with all of you, and let's do it.
So I'm going to kick things off. I'm going to kind of be running the show here a little bit. I run a podcast. It's called Badge of Burnout, and it's about physicians and medical professionals who suffer from burnout and how we prevent that. Something I'm extremely passionate about. So that's kind of how I got into investing in futures and how I met Philip and Dr. Nathan. I was struggling through residency. I was really had a pretty dismal outlook on medicine, and I always wanted at least another way out. I felt like I needed to have something to kind of escape from what, the future was holding for me in medicine. And then I met Philip, and, my whole life has changed ever since. And that's why I'm here tonight. I'm still practicing. I still practice, but this is something I'm extremely passionate about. So that's what got me into it. Now, Dr. Nathan, I want you to kind of give just a brief glimpse of why you got involved in this, and then why don't you just get us kicked off with telling us what is futures, like, because when I first heard that term, I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So if you feel comfortable, just kind of give us an overview.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for that introduction. And so futures market it's the commodities, also known as the commodities market. And essentially what you're doing is you're purchasing the future of that commodity, what the future will be, whether it's going to be at a certain price, whether it's going to be a higher price, whether it's going to be at a lower price. It's much easier nowadays. And the future, in the past, the futures market and the commodities market, let's say, for example, we were trading gold, you would have to physically have the gold in possession when you would buy it. You would get a delivery of that commodity. And nowadays, it's not like that. It's just more simpler with the internet, and now the trades are, instantaneous. So you're not physically holding any of the commodities. So you're essentially trading on what the price will be down the line in the future date, without actually having the physical asset on hand.
That's a really good description. And it's kind of, metaphysical a little bit, you got to be a little cerebral with it. And so let's just take a step back and do this 10,000-foot view of it, because I think that's what us as medical professionals are really good at, is not getting sucked into the details, right?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
we try to put all those away. So in terms of like where do futures fall in terms of an investment class? Like you got stocks, you got options, where are we? Are we in forex? Where are we at with this?
Great question. And then this question comes up a lot. When you're looking at an investment, an alternative investment form, or any kind of investment, you want to be able to have the space that you're looking for. For example, stocks are one space that's short term as well as long term. You have the options, which are also long term and short term. Futures fall into that short term. There's an expiration date on each, similar to options. There's an expiration date on the trade, on the futures market. So what really happens is you're trading in a 3 month cycle. So for example, in right now we're recording this is August 7th. So we're trading the next 3 months. So it starts in June, July, August, and September. So September is when the cutoff is for this particular cycle of the futures market. So it's a short-term derivative market, and it's an alternative investment market.
Yes. And that's what's super interesting about futures, is that they are an alternative investment, right? They're not like your typical stocks. We don't hold these for days, right? We don't hold these. Heck, we don't even hold our trades for hours. We don't call ourselves day traders, right? We trade for 30 minutes to an hour, maybe two, and we do very well. And we're pretty efficient in that way. And that's what's so unique about futures, right? Now, one thing I do want to touch on and let me know what your thoughts are on this is there any like tax benefits to trading futures, or, in terms of like what you can do in that way? Because let's be honest, us as medical professionals, we are always trying to escape taxes. So if you can touch on that briefly, please.
Well, the tax standpoint, again, not legal advisors, not tax advisors. So just this is you have the issue becomes is first make the money and then figure out the tax implications of it. There is a way to mitigate the taxes. You don't want to not pay taxes. You want to mitigate those taxes in a legal and tax consult the tax accountant, the tax professional for those for that advice. I can say though is that because of the amount of money you can make really quickly, you may want to look into alternative ways to quote unquote use that money, and how you can funnel it through a business entity or another entity, which can be a topic for another discussion. But there are options and alternatives to mitigate the tax purposes.
Very favorable tax profile on futures, very favorable. And it's 60% on long-term capital gains tax, which we're not going to get into the details on that. And then the rest is taxed on your state income tax level. And it's very favorable. And the government set it up that way because they want people to be trading futures. So, all right. So we've kind of talked about the history of it a little bit, right? And how people used to literally have to run to their broker and say, I'm putting in this order. And then the broker had to give the call in and actually put the trade in. And now what we do is, like you said, you had mentioned, we trade on computers, we're on our laptops, we're in the comfort of our homes doing this, and we're making pretty good money doing it, right? And that's what's a beautiful.
Yeah, the beauty of that is, just to touch while we're on that point, is consider this as a business. But now the business, there's no overhead. Two, your biggest overhead right now would be the internet connection and electricity. That's all you need. You need an internet connection, electricity, and that's it, and a computer. And you can make money doing just with that bare minimum. There's no overhead for space. There's no overhead for employees. There's no overhead in any logistical purposes. It's strictly all you need is an internet connection, electricity, and a computer to trade. So
Right.
it takes the guesswork out of making, oh, this is so much to look into, and things are a lot easier now that we have the internet and a laptop and computing abilities at our fingertips.
All right. So, and one point I do want to make is real quick about something so we talked about, there's your traditional assets and stock options and stocks and those sorts of things. And then we kind of fall over into the alternative investments, right? So forex, cryptocurrency, luxury timepieces, art, and futures. That's where we hang out, right?
Right.
And one point of emphasis that we absolutely need to make here is the difference between fundamental analysis and technical analysis, right? So we don't hang out on the fundamental side, and we hang out more on the technical analysis side. And I'm just going to use an example in my world to relate to medical professionals. So we use technical analysis to diagnose charts, which we're going to show you, and then understand where you can enter into a trade to be successful in that trade, right? Now, it is so much like reading a CT scan, an MRI, or an X-ray. Now, I mostly read X-rays, like, I work at urgent care, and I see patterns of certain things, and then based off the patterns, the patient's symptoms, I come together with this constellation, this whole picture, and then I make the diagnosis. And that's what technical analysis is. And that's exactly what we do. We are surgically precise. We teach you a method to understand how to diagnose these trades in these charts. Now, that's different than the fundamental analysis, right? That part would be like me wanting to understand how X-rays are formed and the equipment needed for the X-ray. It's more theoretical, right? It's more in that side of it. It's more meta. It's more, it's not as concrete to grasp. So that's the difference between the two. And I hope that medical analogy makes sense. And I think it will for medical professionals, because we are very precise in how we do things. We are surgically precise. And we teach you a method that is so surgically precise that you basically can't lose in trading. That's where we come from.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that, Dr. Nathan?
Yeah, so the technical analysis, and again, just to kind of take it back to the medical analogy is, before you make a diagnosis, any diagnosis that's made, there's certain criteria that have to be checked off, so to say, and before you make the diagnosis. So you look at the factors, and once these factors are checked off, or these factors are present, then the diagnosis is made. Hence, the same methodology is applied to the futures trades. Is we're looking at certain factors, if you will, to whether or not to execute that trade or not. And this is the methodology that's being taught.
Right. And so the next point that I want to touch on for our medical professionals is this. And these are the three key concepts that I've had hammered into my head and that are very important in terms of getting started, right? So the three things with futures that make it absolutely favorable are this. 1, barrier to entry. 2, runway, in terms of how long does it take to get to the point of, getting returns on your investment. And 3, and what is your return on the investment actually, right? Like, what's the time frame? So we as medical professionals, if you're a pharmacist, if you're a physical therapist, if you're a physician like myself, it takes, let's talk about number 1, the barrier to entry. It's high. It's high to get into medical school, pharmacy school. It's extremely high. You have to have amazing undergraduate grades. You have to do all this community service. You have to do all these other things that you probably don't want to do. And to even get into the school you want is extremely expensive, right? I mean, you've got to take out loans so the barrier to entry is so high for our professions. For futures, your barrier to entry could be as low as $50, right? To start trading and making money, even as $500, which most of us have that much money to start trading futures. It's an extremely low barrier in that we even have, clients that are not medical professionals that are able to get in. And then let's talk about the next is the runway, right? Dr. Nathan, how long did you go to school for?
6 years.
6 years. So that was between undergrad and graduate school?
Yep.
6 years. Exact. Now, did you do a residency at all?
No.
Okay.
So
6 years, right? 6 whole years. Mine was 5 years of undergrad because I took a victory lap, 4 years of medical school, and 3 years of residency. That's 12 years. That runway is extremely long, extremely long. But the runway for trading futures is a 64th of that. It's extremely short. Yeah. I mean, how long did it really take you to kind of get a good grasp on this stuff, Dr. Nathan?
Well, this concept that's being taught is there's certain factors, and these factors are discussed, and it's kind of like spaced repetition. You're seeing the same thing over and over again. They're all the same. They're all the same factors. You just kind of have them at your mental fingertips, if you will. And once those are at your mental fingertips, you'll never see the chart again. You never look, you never see the chart the same way again. You'll always have this kind of a instinct that's being developed. And it really does take, from weeks to months. It's practical based. So it's all about spaced repetition and doing it and practicing, and it's a matter of weeks to months for sure.
Right. And it's probably just a few hours a week, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not the smartest guy in the world. And it took me about a few months, and I was doing it during residency. So I was way overwhelmed. But so again, barrier to entry, extremely low compared to our profession. Runway, extremely short compared to our profession. And the last and probably the most important piece here, return on investment. Anytime you talk about an investment, what do you care about? You want to know what your return on the investment is, right? How quick am I going to make back what I invested? Holy moly. I just finished residency and I have mountains of debt, right? And now, yes, am I making a good salary? I am, but for the amount of time that I put in to get here, the ROI it's nothing. I mean, you have to want to love and do this job, because the return on investment is much lower than what we do here with futures. Would you agree, Dr. Nathan? I mean, it's
Absolutely. There's a rule of 72, and really what that comes down to is you're looking at essentially tripling your money in 3 months, doubling your money in 3 months, sorry. And this is the trajectory this is the journey that we're embarking on, is you're able to legally print money in this space. And so the ROI on your investment is, I personally, every time I trade, I'm like, how is this even legally possible? And it's once you see it for yourself, you'll understand exactly where I'm coming from, because this is just, it's so awesome.
It is. Yeah. And that's what I want going forward. I want you all to keep in mind those three things. One, the barrier to entry, which is low. Two, the runway is extremely short. And three, your return on investment is extremely quick. It is extremely quick. So, and it may sound too good to be true, but we're both here living proof that it definitely is not. And we've seen Cal, our trading guru, clear my salary in about a matter of 20 minutes. And it's just incredible. That's some sort of ROI. Okay. All right. Let's not get too sidetracked with that. Dr. Nathan, people love visuals. Let's get some visuals going here. So let's start with just what a candlestick is. If you've ever heard about futures or charts or anything, they're going to mention a candlestick. And I remember when I first got involved in this, I'm like, what is a candlestick? I just don't understand like what that even is. And so it's our medical knowledge. It's our medical, it's the terms we use. It's the symptoms we discuss. It's the physical exam findings. It's a piece of that. So can you go over and maybe just show us kind of what some candlesticks are?
Sure. So what I'll do is I'll pull up a screen share and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So let me know when you can see my screen.
See here. I'm there. All right. Okay. You got the video pulled up. Love it.
Okay, awesome. So this is one of the videos of our recordings, and this was one of the live sessions. Let me just make this bigger if I can. So,
all right, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, as I'm pulling this up, our lead trader, the ethics and the integrity of the medical profession is what we're bringing here. With that being said, our lead trader, he himself is a trained physician in internal medicine. And so he brings the ethics and integrity of the medical profession to the trading space, to the trading world. And this is where we're learning from.
Yes, absolutely. And that was one thing that really kind of tied me into all this, is that he is a physician. He doesn't practice anymore, but he knows what it's like. He knows what we're going through. And he has just such a strong passion for connecting with healthcare professionals, because he understands the landscape that we're facing right now, and just wants to help. He wants to help us understand these concepts and find a way out if that's what we want, just like he did. So, and while we're talking about him, Dr. Nathan, let's give them a little background on who he trained under and kind of where he sprung from, right? Like
Yeah.
where did he get his genesis from, and who do we get our methodology from?
Yeah, so that's a great point. Our methodology comes from a fellow named John Arnold. And those of you who don't know his name, look him up. And he actually was able to take 1.5 million to 1.5 billion in 2.5 years, trading the natural gas commodity the right way. Now, there's three factors that I mentioned there. The first, the amount that he took from 1.5 million to 1.5 billion. That's a huge, substantial growth of capital. The second thing is the futures and commodity, natural gas. In particular, that's the vehicle that he chose. Methodology is the same no matter which market you use. And the third thing I mentioned is the right way. And that is really where the training comes into play, where you see how these particular, and let me know if you can see my screen, but these particular, you see my, okay. So these particular trends and these particular candles, what they're called, if you're on the right side of them, meaning if you're when this is going up, let's say for example, this particular green candle, some of it is white, but this green portion, and I'll discuss what these candles mean, but this means that the market is going up. So if you buy it here and you're holding it all this time, this is a fortune. And even if you buy it here and you hold it this whole time and you exit here, this is a fortune. Now with traditional stocks, if you buy it here, for example, and you hold it this whole time, what do you make? Nothing, because you're just holding it. What the methodology that's being taught here is now you're able to trade these oscillations like a machine and virtually extract money from the market.
Exactly. And our elite trader trained under John Arnold, the gentleman who became one of the youngest billionaires ever, and learned his method. And here we are learning it right now. Now, John Arnold doesn't trade anymore. He's more philanthropic nowadays.
Right.
But we're just fortunate enough to be able to kind of get our hands on this sort of information because, as you'll see, our elite trader is extremely good and extremely efficient and extremely precise. And that's what it's
Yeah.
all about. All
So
right.
so as we,
Go ahead, Dr. Nathan.
So as we're looking at these candle patterns and these charts, some of the things to mention, these are proprietary indicators that are on these charts. So this is not a typical chart that you would see, but I wanted to just give you a basic overview of exactly what you're looking at here. So for example, we're looking at this particular candle, if you will. This is how there's four things that are being discussed here. There's the high, which is the high of the price, and the low of the price. There's the open and the close, and these are the information that's being conveyed in the candle. So for example, if you look at it here, this was the lowest price, and this was the highest price, and then this is the high and the open and the close. And so all these candles convey information which we utilize. And what I mentioned earlier is to trade the oscillations is we have these candles that are providing us information. Now, the markets, when the market is going up, we're able to make money. So this, for example, if you see any green, that means the market is going up. If you see any red, that means the market is going down. And so we can make money where the markets are going up, where the markets are going sideways, and the markets are going down, which again is impervious to any economic conditions. But when the markets do go down, they go down 67% faster, which now allows you to capitalize on the downtrend. We also, yes.
Oh, yeah. So I was going to say, so basically what you're saying is that like compared to stocks, for example, like just your traditional stocks. So like in 2008, there was the housing crisis, the market crash, and everybody lost, right? Except for us, right? Because essentially we're impervious. In fact, we love it when the market crashes because it does go down faster. Was that kind of generally what you're saying?
Exactly, yeah. So it doesn't matter if the market is going up or down, as long as you're on the right side of the trend. And this is the technique that's being taught here. Imagine if you got in here and you held for all this time and then you sold here. What that means is you buy as the market is going up and then you sell as the market is going down. So if you know, for example, this technique and you know that these are proprietary indicators here that are being taught, these indicators will show you when to get in, almost like a surgical X-ray you're looking at and you're making a diagnosis. Boom, okay, I'm in here. I hold this whole time because of these factors, and now I know I can exit here. And then once I see this other factor, then I can know that it's going down, and I can be down. I can now sell the market and capitalize on it going down. So I mean, and so as the markets are going down, you're not capitalizing on it. And so when you have the typical brokerages, you have the Charles Schwab's, Fidelity, you can't start off by selling the market. And what that means is, those of you who are familiar with stocks, you can only buy a stock. And once you have that stock, then you can sell it. In the future space, if you come into the market where, for example, if you're looking at it here at the beginning of the day, you can just sell the market and capitalize on its moving down. So this is the ability to, this is what we're teaching here. This is what's the methodology this is how John Arnold was able to take that 1.5 million to 1.5 billion in 2.5 years.
It's amazing stuff. I love looking at charts. I think they're so beautiful. So and like you said, so we talked about John Arnold, and we use a hybrid approach with his methodologies and our elite trader and the method he's coming up with, and we don't need to probably get too far into the weeds here because this stuff does take some time. But I do want you to touch on this. So when I came in, I had no idea what a broker was. Honestly, I had no idea. And I think there's a lot of medical professionals out there that are listening to this that say, what does he mean by a broker? And so can you let's talk just briefly about what broker do we use and what a broker is?
Yeah, so that's a great question. This is particularly the broker that we use is NinjaTrader. And why are we using NinjaTrader as opposed to any other broker? For one, it's a discount trader. What that allows is the average investor, the average trader, if you will, to get into the market without having high margins. And for this particular instrument, which is the YM, which is the Dow Jones, the price and the cost for one contract is $500. Whereas opposed to if you're looking at Interactive Brokers, for example, which is another broker, big volume broker, their margins are, for one contract, it could be $8,000 to $9,000. So that's the benefit of using a NinjaTrader or a discount broker like this, or AM Futures. It gives you the ability to not only, again, the barrier to entry, you have a smaller barrier to entry as opposed to with other brokers who require a higher capital to start.
Yes, love that. Yeah, so that's basically what a broker is. It's a medium that allows you to trade, to see the markets and trade. And from what I remember, and I know I'm just being facetious, it was $0.00 for me to download NinjaTrader, and it's absolutely free. And it's beautiful. It's a very efficient broker, and it works really well, and we're very happy with it. So, okay, this is good. So we're kind of getting into the basics here. Let's keep rolling on that. So is there any way, Dr. Nathan, like if someone is like, okay, I'm here, I'm looking at a chart, like, what do I do? So tell them about like the hours we trade. Do we trade all day? Is there a certain time period, or like when do we do that?
Absolutely. So the most volatile time in this particular market is from 9:30 to, that's just open of the market, 9:30 Eastern. So as you can, 9:30 Eastern. So we have clients that are in Hawaii trading, in Singapore. So they're all over the world. And this market is 24 hours, but there's certain times of day where the volatility peaks. For example, at 9:30, as you can see here, where this is the chart here, you see this bar right here. This is the volume bar, which shows you how many contracts are being played right now. And this time right here is 9:30, where my cursor is. So as you can tell, there's a high volume of contracts coming in. And there's certain times throughout the day where there's certain times where the market reverses. There's certain times where there's no volume, there's no trading. Then there's certain times where the margins are higher than in the morning. So right now in the morning is the more volatility, so more volatile time. Generally what happens is for the sessions that we do, the live sessions, is it starts with 9:30 at market open till 10 o'clock. And that 30-minute window is the most profitable window. And as you can see, well, you'll see once you come to our live sessions, you'll understand what exactly and why this is such a significant time frame where you can just capitalize on the 30 minutes, and that can it's just every time I think about it, it just brings a smile to my face because that's the time that you need to change your financial future. It's 30
Yeah.
minutes.
30 minutes. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's almost unbelievable at first, until seeing is believing. But yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of it. And again, it brings up that point that do we sit in front of our computers for 8 hours a day? No,
Not
we
at all.
don't. I mean,
No.
it's 30 minutes, it's an hour, maybe two, and then that's it. And you've made your money, you're done, and you're on your way with your life. So you can spend time with your family and friends and doing you can get your life back. That's the important thing here. And that's the theme we want to keep hitting on. So okay, so we talked about a little bit about candlesticks, but not enough to confuse people. We've kind of given them a general overview. Hey, we like trading at 9:30 Eastern time early in the morning. That's when the market's open. Beautiful. All right, moving on. Fundamentally, again, we're taking baby steps here. Someone's looking at this and they're like, well, wait, how do I even place a trade? Is there like a button, or do I have to, do what do I do? And so do you think there's any way we can kind of just show them, and maybe even pulling up your NinjaTrader account or
Sure.
what have you, that we can kind of show them like, hey, this is how a screen looks from when you log in? And because that was one thing I really struggled with. I had a hard time seeing like how this could be executed. How do I buy? How do I sell? How do I put a stop loss in, and all those things. I was kind of novice in that way. So I'm going to give you a sec here to, pull up your NinjaTrader account, and I want people to see the buttons because I think that fundamental level will be very important for them to kind of just get a grasp on things basically. So, and and I'll say this again, I just want people to understand that, the three things that we're going to keep hitting on are, again, the barrier to entry for this is extremely low. The runway is extremely short, and return on investment is extremely high. And I know
Yeah.
my experience with this is it's been nothing but great. And it took me a few months to really get to understand all this terminology and everything. But after that, it's just about kind of keeping those fundamentals at hand, coming to class, learning, and taking it to the moon. All right. You got a chart up for us?
I do have a chart, however, it doesn't have the buttons. So essentially what I'll do is we can let me just try to do it here. So there is, if you will, let me share the screen here.
Yep. Go ahead and share the screen and let's.
So what I have here is the chart, and this is the platform NinjaTrader that we're using. So this is what you'll see. And just when you want to place a market, let's say the market is going up and you want to buy the market as it's going up, you would click this buy market button. And if you wanted to continue in the trade and stay in the trade and you wanted to get out, for example, here or here or here, you would hit close. For example, if you're buying the market here, you would get to here and all of a sudden you wanted to reverse the trade, meaning now you're going down, we'll just hit the reverse button and now the same trade is now going down. And then also same thing, if you wanted to close that, you can close this button here. If you're here and now you want to sell the market, which means now you're making money as the market goes down, you'll sell market, and wherever you want to exit, you'll just hit close. Or if you want to reverse the trade, you can reverse the trade. Generally, just hit close, and now all the capital that you've accumulated now is in your account. And then you have account status here. This is just a sim account. This is just a snapshot of what this looks like.
The beautiful thing, it really is just that simple. There's, it's simple, those buttons, but that helped me so much when I first saw that I was like, oh man, this is not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So great. And then, one thing we always do teach is, we are mindful of risk, and we understand that there is inherent risk in trading, right? But there is a way, Dr. Nathan, that we can, put a stop loss in, right? And so do you want to talk about that a little bit, just to kind of, hey, like, we understand that, there's risk, and how do we mitigate that?
Yeah, so stop loss essentially is, let's say you're going into the trade, for example, you're going, oh, excuse me, you're going into the trade here, and you have a stop loss that if the market goes below this particular point, you will get stopped out, meaning your trade will get closed. So that's a good thing to have, because now you can't lose more than that allotted stop loss. So for example, if I'm coming in at the price is 110, arbitrary number, my stop loss will be 90, for example. So now if it goes below 90, my trade is closed at 90. So I'm not losing any more money than that stop loss that's putting me into the trade. Now the opposite is also true. You can put in market orders. For example, if I go into the trade here and I know that once it passes this particular moving average, this is what this line is here, this yellow line, I can put the market order here to buy market now, meaning I can put more contracts that can be bought when the price passes here. So I would start with one here, I would have another one here, and then I would put this, to add a few more contracts, and then I would hold it until I am ready to exit.
So basically, we teach you a way to mitigate your losses and then capitalize on your gains. And that's all built into our broker, which is amazing. So, okay, cool. We're doing great. We're moving right along. Now, let's just kind of briefly give them an overview of kind of the types of trades and the trends and all the bread and butter of what we do and what we teach in our classes. And again, I love looking at charts because I just think this stuff's so beautiful. So yeah, let's kind of break down some. I mean, this chart right here has so many. It's beautiful.
Yeah, this is a beautiful trade, a beautiful chart, and it has most of the factors that are being taught. And when you come on the sessions, you'll see these patterns kind of repeated over and over again, because the markets do repeat themselves. You'll see this particular setup at least once a day on any given day. So for example, start with the easiest one. This right here is considered a breakout trade, where it would have to break out from this area. So this right here would be a breakout trade. Now it would come up to here, it would come down, and as it passes this particular level, that's considered a breakout trade. Again, this is all technical, but this is what's discussed in the sessions. This is a trend. So the trend is any direction that the market is moving. This can be an uptrend, this is a downtrend, and you have single candle techniques, you have extension plays. So these are all technical analysis that we're going through, that are discussed on our weekly sessions, on our evening sessions, where the training is actually being taught and information is being disseminated to you.
Yeah, and that's where it kind of comes into like our world as medical professionals, right? And I had mentioned this earlier a little bit, but it's so much like what we do on a daily basis, right? Like, so for example, like you were talking about the trend and the breakout. Okay, let's just take the breakout one. Like it's no different than like diagnosing someone, in my case, like with a COPD exacerbation, right? Okay, they've got COPD, they're more short of breath, their sputum is definitely increasing, and the purulence of their sputum is increasing as well. Very similarly, that's what we do in terms of these charts. We teach you these technical factors, this constellation of things that say, hey, this is a breakout, and these are kind of the patterns that you look for. And that's why medical professionals do so well with futures trading and do so well while working with us, is because it's so much like what we do on a daily basis. And so I just want people to understand that we have the skills to do this, and we can teach you that. And it's so beautiful. That's why it's amazing.
It's the cause and effect relationship. It's, if this happens, then that's what's going to happen. If this is here, then this is what it means. So that's the same thing in the medical profession. We have the diagnosis. As we're looking at the diagnosis, for example, before we make that diagnosis, we look for these factors, and these factors are, okay, if these factors are present, this is what the outcome is going to be. And that's what is being taught. You look for these particular factors, and everything on this chart you see here, these are all factors that we look for.
So touch on some of those. Touch on some of those factors, because those are the like I was talking about, the sputum purulence and all that. Like, let's talk about the moving averages and all that. We don't have to go too far into it, but
so we have these are the dots, right? The SAR dots. They're designed, if they're below the price, that means that you want to be a buyer. If they're above the price, where now this is the price, and now if they're above the price, you want to be a seller. These lines over here, these are called moving averages, and there are different moving averages depending on the time frame. So for example, if this is the 8 moving average, this means that it's the average of the last 8 bars. This is the 20 moving average, which means it's the last average of the last 20 bars. Now we have here, these are called the VWAP line, where the weighed value average price of the candles of the price. So if it's below the price, you're likely to be a seller, and if it's above the price, you're likely to be a buyer. But again, these are all microcosms in terms of how the market moves. And this is all discussed on the candle patterns, specific candle patterns like this, for example. This is a tombstone, which means that now the market cannot break this level. So now that you know that once you see this pattern here, for example, you'll be a seller. And that's exactly what happens here. You know, you have this hammer, for example. The hammer looks like a body with a tail, and you know that that's going to take the market up, and that's exactly what happens here. So these are the little tricks, if you will, that we're looking for, that are being taught for you to look for, and now you can make that diagnosis and execute the trade.
Exactly. And you know, again, I use the analogy in medicine, like you put a chest x-ray in front of me in my first day. Now, one of my, you know, first couple of years in medical school, and I'm like, you know, I got deer in the headlights look, but that's they teach you, they say, you know, you do your method, you do it the same way every time, you know, you look at the ABCDs, you know, you do it however you do it. And that's what we do here. We teach you that, you know, we're educators, and we teach you how to look at like a CT scan or an X-ray and do it the same way every time, and minimize the risk of being wrong, because we in the medical profession, we really can't be wrong, you know. And it's the same thing here in trading, is we don't want to be wrong, and we don't teach you that way either. And that's it's just great. It's great about coming to the classes. So, well, we hit on a lot there. That was good. And that's kind of the bread and butter of what we do on a daily basis. And real quick, can you touch on, and this is something I need to do a better job of paying attention to, but it's very important, like market report days, like, oh, some big events happen in the world, right? And so how that influences what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's certain days of the week where the markets are influenced by certain events, certain reports that come out. To give you an example, there's something called the Fed report, which is the Federal Reserve puts out a report. Typically happens on Wednesdays around 2 p.m. So when we know that that report is coming, and there's a specific website that we will provide for you that gives you this knowledge. And once this report comes out, this means that there will be volatility in the market. There'll be movement in the market. When the market is moving, that's when you can make money. You want to make money in volatile situations. You want to make money when the market is moving. You actually make more money when the market is moving. So knowing that there's going to be a report at this particular time, now you're able to prepare yourself for the movement of the market, where you can put the stop losses, where you can put the sell losses, the sell orders, the buy orders, and now you know this particular, if market goes up here, my order will trigger, and now I'm in the trade. If market goes below, I'm going to be a selling order, and now once it goes past that point, I'm going to be a seller. So you capitalize on these market events, on the report events.
Yep. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. Well, I mean, I think that pretty much, you know, covers the kind of the fundamentals and the bread and butter of what we're doing on a daily basis. And, you know, I just want to close and say that, you know, there was a time in my career as a physician, as an early physician in residency, where I was really struggling, and I really didn't see a way out, and I really didn't have a lot of hope until I ran across Philip in a podcast about physician burnout, and him and I just connected. And I just got to say, and I know, Dr. Nathan, you feel the same way, that, you know, it's been life changing for me, and I feel a lot better about my future and my life in general. And so that's just the ask, you know, just come to our classes and see what we're all about, you know, in our community, and change your life. That's really that's all we ask. That's all we ask.
You know, it's interesting what you just mentioned, you know, change. One of my mentors once told me, if you want things in your life to change, you got to change things in your life. You can't expect to do the same things over and over again and expect a different result. Do things, and I would invite you all to come to our sessions to vet this process, vet the training, get your questions answered, and the sky's the limit.
Thank you so much, fellow doctors. As they alluded to, we do host weekly sessions that are designated for our paying clients. But of course, since we are speaking to our fellow medical professionals, feel free to, sit in for a week or two at zero obligation as a guest of ours. And if you like the material, we can talk more. Below this recording, you should also see really recent event that we did together as a group. We run a physician investing masterclass and roundtable every single month towards the end of the month. So what I'll do is I'll include the one that we did here at the end of July as well. And I hope you find this content to be insightful, empowering, and educational. With that, thank you so much for all of your time and attending this elementary foundation content that gives you a high-level overview of what exactly is the futures and commodity financial markets and what we do here at Lightspeed Investing. I hope all of you have a blessed evening and looking forward to speaking with you soon. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.